All right, it's time now for French Connections, our weekly look at the intricacies of French life with Florence Villeminot. Hi, Florence. Now, this week you're looking at a very thorny debate that has been raging over the past few days, the right to die. Tell us why it's been raging, that debate.
Well, there's one case that's been very central to this debate over the right to die, and it concerns a man in his 40s by the name of Vincent Lambert. He has been in a vegetative state following a road accident in 2008, and since then he's been kept alive through artificial nutrition and hydration at a hospital in Reims, which is a northeastern city in France. Now, his care has really divided the country and his family because, on the one hand, his wife and some of his siblings want to are in favor of ending this artificial support. This is his wife, you could see there. They say that's what he would have wanted. But here, his parents, who are devout Catholics, are adamant that he should be kept alive at all costs. Now, there have been several judicial rulings over the case. The European Court of Human Rights actually upheld a decision by a French court to allow him to be taken off life support. But in a latest twist, the case is pending a review by the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
Now, it's very tricky, isn't it, France, because ethics come into this, philosophy comes into this, but what does the French law say about it?
There is a French law from 2005 that focuses specifically on the rights of sick people and the end of life. It's commonly called the Loi Leonetti, after Jean Leonetti, one of the lawmakers who drafted it, and there are several components to this law. First of all, active euthanasia that is actively and deliberately causing a patient's death is illegal. It's considered homicide in France. Now, you can see the law also forbids what's called acharnement thérapeutique in France. So that is the relentless and excessive use of intensive medication. But you can see here it also talks about the right to let patients die, le droit de laisser mourir, essentially the right for doctors to suspend treatment and let patients die so long as they provide palliative care, essentially reducing suffering. And this is sometimes called passive euthanasia, though keep in mind authorities don't call it passive euthanasia because euthanasia is illegal in France.
Right, now there was an amendment to that law in 2016 which brought further rights to people in the terminal phase of a deadly illness. Tell us more about that.
That's right. The 2016 amendment brought in what is called the droit à la sédation profonde et continue, so essentially allowing patients near death to stop treatment and enter what's called a deep sleep. So
upping the morphine, as it's often kind of referred to.
Absolutely, and essentially letting them die. This effectively lets patients set their own death in motion because this state of deep sleep is irreversible. But keep in mind that medical workers insist this is not the same thing as euthanasia.
This procedure is about care. It's about reducing pain and suffering. It's not euthanasia.
We insist this is not a lethal injection. Death doesn't occur immediately, not at all. That's not what our goal is. It's about comfort. That's our priority. Comfort, passing away with dignity, without pain. As a nurse, it seems so obvious.
Now, some critics say that the law goes too far, while others say it doesn't go far enough. Tell us about calls to legalise euthanasia in France.
Well, people in favour of legalising euthanasia in France often point to the fact that it is already legal, for instance, in several states in the United States, in Canada, as well as in the Netherlands, Switzerland, and Belgium, where it's actually legal for minors as well. Now, given the current situation in France, some French people actually go abroad to seek legal euthanasia. This is sometimes what critics call suicide tourism. Now, there is a very vocal group here in France for the legalization of euthanasia. It is called the Association for the Right to Die in Dignity, and they insist that a new law is necessary.
A law legalizing euthanasia will allow people to write down exactly what they want for the end of their lives, wishes that will be binding on doctors and family members. It would avoid the legal battles and family drama that we see today.
Now, that being said, Florence, people already can declare in advance how they wish to be treated at the end of their lives. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. This is actually our word du jour. It's called the directive anticipé. Now, this is essentially your final wishes. And, it's like, do you want to be resuscitated? Do you want to be on life support? Do you want to be sedated? Well, you can write these directives anticipées on a piece of paper, or there's actually a formula that you can find online. You can fill it in. You can give it to your doctor or a person of confidence. Now, the thing is, a majority of people don't know about these directives anticipées. I actually didn't know about them. Now, following the Vincent Lambert case,
because he didn't do that, right? That was the whole issue.
Absolutely, he didn't do it. So it's he said or what he said to his parents or his wife, etc. Now, following that case, the government has actively encouraged members of the public to make these final wishes clear, and so has Jean Leonetti, so the man behind that law. He's also calling on people to do it.
We don't need to change the law. The customs of our society need to change. French people should write down their final wishes. If they don't want to spend 8 years in a coma, they should take a piece of paper and write, "If I find myself in a prolonged coma or a vegetative state, I want life support to be halted."
Now, according to recent polls, a majority of French people are actually in favor of legalizing euthanasia, but it is such a thorny, such a divisive debate that it's unlikely that the law will change anytime soon.
All right, Florence, thanks for a look through such a tricky and complex issue. And you can catch this and all previous editions of French Connections on France24.com.